So today on Sports File, we're going to take a first of a two-part look at that great player Douglas Robert Gilmour, better known as Doug Gilmour, or as some of his teammates call him the Killer. Now, Doug Gilmour was a player who was destined for great things in his hockey life after a great junior career with the Cornwall Royals, where he helped them win a Memorial Cup in 1981. He was also named the most outstanding player in the OHL in the 1983 season after scoring 177 points, which was one of the biggest in history. He basically found himself drafted in the NHL with the St. Louis Blues. Now, if anyone remembers how difficult St. Louis had in the early 80s, he basically Gilmour was lured to St. Louis, who finally offered him a deal after he was thinking about playing in Germany. See, Gilmour wasn't a big player, and he believed that a small player like himself was better off in Europe. But St. Louis head coach Jacques Demers, a genius of the bench, he believed Gilmour had the potential to be a defensive specialist. Now, he started his first year with St. Louis in the '84 season, and as the season went on, he started to draw up reputation for his mean style of play. Not say dirty, but aggressive, strong. And as his seasons went on with St. Louis, it helped to reinvigorate the franchise. He was a mid-range scorer, getting 57 points in 84-85 and 53 in 85-86. Now, that's where Gilmour really came to another level. In the 85-86 season, he became a big offensive juggernaut for the Blues, and helped them get to the semifinal round and within one game of making the Stanley Cup final. He allowed St. Louis to be recognized in the media yet again as a quality team. Gary Unger had started that many years before, but him and Federico at the same team really gave them a good chance to develop. And after the 1987 season, he basically became a key member of the Team Canada program, helping Canada win the 1987 Canada Cup, and he scored 2 goals in that championship. After another big season in 1987-88 with 86 points, he became, in the off-season 1988, part of a huge controversy. Gilmour was alleged to have sexually assaulted a 14-year-old girl, and that family's parents had sued him. The Blues organization, his wife Robin, as well as team president Jack Quinn, were also named in the lawsuit because they either knew or should have known about what happened to the young girl, the alleged abuse. Again, allegations are just that at this point, still 31 years. He was also, the Blues were also accused of pretending to negotiate a payment while attempting to trade Gilmour without informing the other team of the allegations. Now, this unfortunate incident led to the first piece of history for Doug Gilmour. It was one of the biggest trades in the NHL at the time. The Blues shipped Gilmour off to the Flames. It was Gilmour, Mark Hunter, Steve Bozek, and Michael Dark who were sent to Calgary in exchange for sniper Mike Bullard, Greg Cox, and Tim Corkery. Now, the trade, Gilmour didn't want to be traded from the Blues, but he said, for what happened in the media in the St. Louis Blues families is the right thing. The trade essentially gave Calgary new momentum. They had lost in the finals in '86 to Montreal, and the trade itself may have put St. Louis back for a number of years, which I think they haven't really recovered. St. Louis has not been any factor in the NHL unless you count that year where Gretzky was there with them. So, anyway, now Gilmour's legal situation continued in the '89 season, and a grand jury investigated Gilmour. Of course, denied the allegations. At the end of the year, the grand jury chose not to indict Gilmour The lawsuit was dropped after, and Gilmour said he was moving on. Now, the '89 season, again, if anybody remembers the glorious year that Calgary had, Gilmour led the team in scoring that year with, second in team scoring with 85 points with Hawk and Lube. Joe Mullen had another good year at 110 points. And it paid off. The Flames won the cup that year, beating Montreal in the finals. He showed great effectiveness in the second round when he scored and assisted on several key goals in 3 to 4 games and helped beat the LA Kings. Gilmour had 11 goals and 11 assists in 22 games in the playoff run. And of course, in the 6th game against the Montreal Canadiens, he scored 2 goals, including the winner for a 4-2 victory in Montreal, which was one of the few times in history I think that Montreal lost the cup in their own rink in a final series. Now, with the 1990 season, he continued to progress as one of the top point scorers in the NHL. He continued to have great success. But another problem came up, and unfortunately with Gilmour, drama would surround him. After an off-season salary dispute with Flames general manager Doug Risebrough, which carried into the 91-2 season, Gilmour could not reach a contract settlement with the team, and he finally did a contract, but it came to a point where, Gilmour was going to have to be moved because of the different problems with the contract with the Flames. I don't think the Flames wanted to pay Gilmour what was really deserved, and he basically decided to walk away from the team. He said, pay me or trade me, and that's what he did. Now, in early 1992, in the deal that changed the franchise in Toronto for the better for years, Calgary dealt Gilmour to the Leafs as part of one of the biggest trades in sports history, not in NHL history. 10 players. Calgary sent Gilmour, defenseman Jamie McCown, defenseman Rick Nattrass, Ken Manderville, and goalie Rick Wamsley, Toronto, in exchange for Gary Leeman, Craig Berube, Michel Petit, Alexander Galchenyuk, and Jeff Reese. Now, some believe that the trade also killed any Flames, long-term possibility of getting a cup. And you're seeing a parallel here. Any place Gilmour was, either in the OHL with St. Louis and Calgary, he was the stir that he was the straw that stirred the drink. He would make every player around him better, and he was, to my knowledge, the first $1 million man for the Leafs. His new contract with the Maple Leafs was $4 million over 4 years, which was well deserved. And everything with Toronto started to improve. Now, in the second podcast with Gilmour, we're going to talk about the obvious Toronto's Cup run in '93 and the famous Game 6 incident with the non-call Gretzky on Gilmour. But I must tell you, if you're a Toronto Maple Leaf fan, and there's some out there that have never seen Gilmour, go on YouTube and go on different tribute sites to see how good this guy was. He was kind of a combination of a Steve Yzerman, a little bit of Steve Shutt, a little bit of Bob Gainey, a little bit of Denny Savard. He had aspects of toughness for his size again. But all this controversy surrounding Gilmour, I don't think really people remember it as much, because generally he's a hard worker. He's a grinder who can score. So in the next podcast, we're going to talk about the Gretzky situation, and let me tell you, there's a lot of drama to come. Have a good one. Keep your stick in the ice. Bye.